So we just laid out who's going to be testifying, and we're also hearing some things in advance and prepared testimony from Michael Barr. So my question to you is, who's in the hottest of these hot seats? Who's going to face the toughest questions from these senators?
Oh, well, I think they're all going to face some pretty tough questions. You have in front of you, we'll see this morning, really three important officials, each covering a different aspect, really, of what happened that weekend with Silicon Valley Bank. And you'll have Marty Gruenberg, the chairman of the FDIC, talking about issues regarding the role of deposit insurance, what happened with the receivership, what the timing was regarding the placing of SVB into receivership. You'll have Vice Chair Michael Barr talking about the supervisory aspects. What's really happening here? What happened from a very early stage regarding the management of interest rate risk at Silicon Valley Bank. And then you'll have Undersecretary Nellie Lang, and she's going to talk about the financial stability aspects. And of course, we know this was an event that created a systemic designation, which was the reason why the Federal Reserve stepped in the way it did. So you've got three aspects. You've got the deposit insurance run, you have the supervisory aspect, and you have the financial stability pieces, all really on display. And I think in terms of hot seat, I think they're all going to be really quite the focus of attention.
All right, so three fairly hot seats. You mentioned the interest rate risk, and that's something that Barr is going to face questions about. In your opinion, is that something that should have been identified by his office and the bank examiners that check out banks?
So interest rate risk management is a pretty basic 101 of banking. And this has to do with the ability of the bank to actually control the fact that interest rates are moving. Because when interest rates move, of course, the value of treasuries varies. And if interest rates are moving because the Fed is actually changing the path of the federal funds rate, this provides a real set of opportunities for the institution to manage. And that is exactly, of course, what happened. We know that the Fed began raising interest rates quite a while ago. And it was really at that point in time when the supervisors would have come into the institution and really started to check, almost do a bed check to make sure that the banks understand how to manage their interest rate risk.
Okay.
It would, in essence, have been a signal, right? Interest rates are going to move. Do you guys know how to manage this?
All right, so this is a committee hearing, but we have some heavy hitters in this room. So let's just take off the table. We're going to see a little bit of grandstanding. Who are the senators to watch, and what line of questioning do you expect them to take?
Well, I think you're exactly right. There will be grandstanding, a lot of different agendas here because different people have different sort of different perspectives and aspects and things that they want to pull out. I think the supervisory piece is going to be quite important here. So you will have a certain number. You'll have probably Senator Warren will take a look at supervision. You'll have Senator Scott on the other side of the aisle. He'll take he's been signaling some interest here in the supervisory aspects, like, exactly what took so long here? Like, why essentially did it get to this point from a supervisory perspective? You'll remember, of course, that supervision is something that bank examiners do. The Federal Reserve does this on a schedule. They come in periodically, good times, bad times. What kind of took so long here, I think, is a little bit of the flavor of that kind of questioning.
Yeah,
Then,
I would
of course,
imagine.
yeah. So you're gonna see, I think, different senators with different kind of aspects here, different agendas, things that they're going to want to probe.
All right, so here's a tough question. I think that that's going to be raised in this committee hearing. In 2018, Congress passed a bill that rolled back components of Dodd-Frank, and that also excluded some smaller mid-sized banks from bank stress tests. Now, do you believe if that rollback hadn't happened, that this SVB and Signature Bank situation would have been caught much sooner?
Great question, Frank. And you're exactly right that at the same time that we are seeing, what is a failure of interest rate risk management, you're also seeing this rollback. Now, with the rollback, did it really make a difference? I'm not exactly sure because the rollback really had to do with the threshold that moves you from regular supervision to enhanced prudential supervision. And what I maintain, and I think most bank supervisors understand to be the case, is interest rate risk management. You've got to kick the tires on that if you're a bank supervisor, regardless of whether you're in the enhanced prudential supervision world or the regular supervision world. This was a
Okay.
question of regular supervision.
All right, so this is a case of regular supervision. So I'm going to ask the question that's going to be asked in this hearing a bunch of times. Were there any warning signs that one of these agencies should have caught that would have prevented all this? Was there something that was a clear problem that one of them should have said, hey, this is an issue, let me address it?
Yes. So again, interest rate risk management is something that all bank examiners are supposed to be going in, looking at periodically, regularly. If they see an issue, they flag it. They write it up. They put it into the exam report. They elevate it to the board. The board of the board of the bank. They require that the board address it with their management team to get the problem fixed. If it's not fixed, they elevate it to what's called a memorandum of understanding. Get those remedies put in place. Get them put in place urgently, correctly, appropriately. And hey, if that isn't done, you elevate again and you create a cease and desist order. So it is really an escalation here of appropriate supervisory mechanisms that you need to see. And so when it's flagged, yeah, you flag it, but you do something about it. You do something about it fairly urgently.